Today we're digging into a story that's really grabbed headlines recently. It's about this series actor, known as Mr. Chang, and frankly a mess of allegations. We're talking multiple relationships happening at the same time, and some of them led to some truly awful consequences. So our mission here is to unpack the details from the sources you sent over. We're focusing heavily on a transcript from that online show, Hon Kosei. It's got these first-hand accounts from 3 women who were directly involved. And look, this isn't just gossip. It's a serious look into manipulation, emotional betrayal, and the kind of damage this stuff can cause. There are lessons here for all of us, really. Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we need to start with Miss Day. Her story kind of sets the whole thing up. Right, so Miss Day knew this Mr. Chang way back, like high school, over 10 years ago, different province. Then they reconnect on Facebook. Turns out they're living in condos right opposite each other here in Bangkok. Crazy coincidence, right? And he reaches out first. Makes it very clear he lives alone. Claims he's single. So this connection starts. Miss Day thinks it's maybe just friendship at first, but it gets deeper over about 8 months. October 24 to June 25. He's doing all the right things, you know. Attentive, brings her medicine when she's sick, offers support. But when she tries to get clarity, like, what are we? He keeps it super vague. Uses phrases like wanting to be a comfort or have each other permanently, but never actually says girlfriend.
That's really interesting, isn't it? That deliberate ambiguity. It lets him have all the benefits of closeness.
Without any of the responsibility.
Exactly. It's a classic way to keep someone hooked without committing. You see this kind of thing quite often in manipulative dynamics. What do you think the impact of that vagueness is day to day?
Oh, it must be exhausting. Constantly guessing, hoping. It keeps you trapped. And he wasn't just vague with words. He talked about a future together, you know? Said things like after he got his military exemption, the black card, they call it, and his acting contract was up, they'd, move forward. He even talked about starting a lawn and orchard business, asked her for business advice on exports and stuff. And get this, he actually worked for her business for a couple of months, made 1,500 baiters off a week. So there's a financial angle, too. The real turning point, the aha moment for Miss A, was Instagram. She noticed he'd blocked her personal account from seeing his stories, but she could still see them from her business account. Sneaky.
So he wasn't completely invisible, just controlling who saw what.
Right. His excuses were flimsy, promoting projects, meeting friends before conscription. Her trust just started to crumble. She tried ending it multiple times, but he'd always beg her to stay, pull her back in. He even dangled this idea of buying a condo in her building, mentioned she'd get a $300,000 referral fee. She was even talking to the project people for him. It really cemented this false idea of a future. Then comes the big reveal. Mrs. A figures out he has a main girlfriend, someone he'd been dating since 2023. She found her by going through his Instagram followers, saw this other woman's account with pictures of him highlighted. His face was hidden, but you could tell it was him.
Wow. So she reaches out to the girlfriend.
Yep. Sent proof, including a photo of him asleep in Ms. A's Aves. Can't argue with that. Chang's reaction. Just cold. A message via chat saying, stop it, it can't go on, I never loved you, it was just for benefits. I have a girlfriend, always have, and I love her very much.
Ouch. No apology, just that.
And then boom, blocked her immediately. So Ms. A, totally devastated, puts her story out on social media, calls it a cautionary tale. And that just opened the floodgates. Suddenly, like 7 or 8 other women contact her, plus maybe 10 more in the comments.
All with similar stories.
Strikingly similar. It just showed the sheer scale of his deception. It was massive, multi-layered, and just when you think you've heard the worst, well, Mrs. B's story comes out. This adds a whole other dimension. It's deeply concerning. Mrs. B knew him from university. They were in group projects freshman year, started dating seriously in their 4th year, around March 2024. She's actually pretty open about it. Says she pursued him mainly because he was good looking. Now here's where it gets really bad. Before they were intimate, Mrs. B specifically asked him to use a condom. She was worried about STIs. He flat out refused. Apparently said something like, this is me, number 1 of the agency, and claimed he, quote, won't finish with one on.
Using his status like that, that's a huge red flag. It's coercive.
Absolutely. And Mrs. B, well, she trusted him. Trusted the image, the celebrity status, and they didn't use protection.
And that just raises this whole issue of power dynamics, doesn't it? How someone's perceived status can basically silence a partner's very valid health concerns. It's not just unethical, it's dangerous. How does that celebrity shield affect someone's judgment in that kind of intimate moment?
It's incredibly powerful, isn't it? You trust the public face, the reputation, and it can just override your own instincts, your own safety needs. It's tragic. And the consequences for Mrs. B were immediate and severe.
Yeah.
Just 10 days later, she contracts an STI from him. And we're talking high fever, convulsions. She ended up hospitalized, had to postpone her university exams. I mean, the physical toll, the academic toll.
Yeah.
Devastating.
And his reaction when she confronted him?
Pure deflection. Asked her if she'd been with anyone else. No apology, no remorse, no offer to help with medical bills. Nothing.
Unbelievable.
And just like with Mrs. A, he kept the relationship status totally undefined. Never called her his girlfriend, never said he loved her, but enjoyed her affection. Eventually, Miss B just got disillusioned, left to study abroad, cut contact. She only found out about all the other women later when Mrs. A's post went viral. So as we go deeper into these separate worlds Mr. Chang seemed to be living in, we get to Mrs. D. And her story, well, it reveals perhaps the most profound betrayal. Mrs. D dated Chang for about a year, January 2024 to January 2025. Think about that time frame. It overlaps massively with Mrs. A and Mrs. B.
Wow, so he was juggling all three simultaneously for a significant period.
Exactly. And he was telling Ms. D she was his only one, his number one. Used his busy work schedule as the reason he couldn't possibly have anyone else. But here's the key difference. Mrs. D had regular access to his condo. She even had a key.
Ah, so she had a level of access the others didn't.
Right. Which would absolutely reinforce her belief that their relationship was exclusive, committed.
And if you connect those dots, the different levels of access, the different levels of secrecy, it really looks like a calculated strategy, doesn't it? Keeping different women siloed off with different versions of the truth. What do you think the goal was there? Giving one woman a key while keeping another away from his place entirely.
It feels very intentional, very manipulative, like he's just tailoring the deception, giving each one just enough validation, just enough perceived exclusivity to keep them believing they were the special one, all while he stayed in control. Then, in June 2024, Mrs. D gets pregnant.
Oh, no.
Chang's reaction is immediate, refuses responsibility, says he wasn't ready, tells her to take it out. At first, no offer of financial help at all. Only when she pushed him on his responsibility did he claim he was broke. Eventually, he sent just 10,000 baht. That was July 7th.
10,000 baht for an abortion he insisted on.
Yep. And he refused to go with her to the clinic. Again, used his celebrity status as the excuse. She had to go through it completely alone. At a really crucial point here, Mrs. D was on birth control pills consistently. She had PCOS, an underlying condition, so she was diligent. She still got pregnant.
Which is a stark reminder that no method is 100% foolproof, right? And it really highlights the need for shared responsibility.
Absolutely. But even after the abortion, Ms. D forgave him. She said he was out of love, and she kind of rationalized his behavior, thinking maybe his fame made him act that way, maybe he was just inexperienced with something so serious.
That's heartbreaking, trying to find excuses for such awful behavior.
She even tried talking to his brother for support. But the brother apparently just stopped responding once he heard about the pregnancy. The relationship finally ended in January 2025. Mrs. D felt him pulling away, so she went to his condo without telling him first. She walks in, finds him on a video call. He slams it shut, curses, totally surprised.
Caught red-handed.
Pretty much. And then he just lays down this cold ultimatum. Says he wants another woman in his life, probably Mrs. A, or maybe someone else by then, and tells Mrs. D, if you can stay, stay, if not, leave.
Just like that. Offering her the chance to stay while he pursues someone else.
Yes. And made nasty comments, made her feel worthless. She said that cruelty, ironically, is what finally gave her the strength to leave. She also told his manager what happened. The manager's response, basically, take care of your health, miss, and hung up.
Complete dismissal. No accountability from anyone around him either, it seems.
None. Mrs. D also mentioned he used to reassure her by falsely claiming his agency did STI checks every 3 months, try to convince her he was safe.
And another lie layered on top of everything else.
All while telling her, I only have you. And one more disturbing detail. Ms. D mentioned he had this strange preference for her to wear school uniforms sometimes.
Okay, that just adds another layer of unsettling behavior to the whole picture.
It really is striking, isn't it? When you lay out all these stories, these incredibly personal, painful accounts, you see this undeniable pattern, a clear, calculated pattern in Mr. Chang's behavior.
Absolutely.
He lied systematically, told every woman he was single, while juggling multiple relationships, one apparently quite long-term.
Check.
He consistently refused to use condoms, used excuses like his fame, the #1 of the agency line, or just personal preference, saying he won't finish.
Dangerous and manipulative. Check.
He used vague language, that whole free relationship thing, good feelings, never committing, but keeping them emotionally invested, begging them to stay when challenged. then delivering these incredibly cruel breakups when he was caught.
Emotional manipulation 101.
Exploited his celebrity status constantly as an excuse for secrecy, like not letting Miss A come over, not going with Mrs. D to the clinic, used it to deny a responsibility, to falsely claim he was safe.
Using fame as a shield.
Yeah.
Got it.
Financially irresponsible, or maybe just disregard. Minimal, delayed support for the abortion only when pressured. And actually taking money from Mrs. A for that work.
Yeah, the financial aspect is telling, too.
Then there's the gaslighting, the blame shifting, accusing Mrs. B of seeing others, lying about Instagram to Ms. A, making Ms. D feel worthless.
Undermining their reality, classic abuse tactic.
Concealment and control everywhere, fake dating app profiles, lying about basic personal info, name, age, school, where he was from, controlling contact by ghosting, then reappearing.
Maintaining total control over the narrative.
And finally, just zero remorse. That final message to Ms. A just says it all. No apology, no empathy, just done.
When you put it all together like that, it really paints a clear picture of, well, coercive control, emotional abuse, maybe even some narcissistic traits. Trust is deliberately built up just to be completely shattered for his own benefit. And the fact that it wasn't just one person, but multiple women, all described as beautiful, by the way, who fell into these same patterns, that points to someone who is, frankly, very practiced and sophisticated in this kind of deception, regardless of the devastation left behind.
So, okay, this is a disturbing story, no doubt. But why should you, listening right now, care about this? What's the takeaway for your own life? Well, as the victims themselves said, it's a powerful cautionary tale. It really shines a spotlight on some critical red flags, warning signs in relationships that, honestly, anyone should be aware of.
Exactly. Things like
Inconsistent behavior, right? When someone's words just don't match up with what they actually do, claiming they're too busy for anyone else but secretly juggling multiple partners, that's a huge breach of trust right there.
Definitely. And the refusal to be clear about commitment,
Yeah.
that vagueness we talked about.
Yeah, that's a big one. Creates this weird power dynamic, keeps you guessing, always chasing something that might not even be real.
Then there's the secrecy and control. If someone's actively stopping you from seeing parts of their life, their home, their phone, their friends, even basic info, be wary. That allows them to hide things.
Huge red flag. And the pressure about safe sex. Any refusal to use protection or making light of health concerns, that's not just a red flag, that's a run signal. It shows a fundamental lack of respect for your well-being.
Absolutely non-negotiable. And finally, look at how someone handles problems, how they react in a crisis. Do they take responsibility? Do they show empathy? Or do they blame, deflect, disappear? That reveals a lot about their true character.
You know, this whole thing really hammers home how important it is to trust your gut. That little feeling that says something's off here, even if the person is charming, even if they're saying all the right things. Don't ignore that feeling. And it also shows the power in people sharing their experiences. When individuals speak up, like Mrs. Ailey did, it can uncover these bigger patterns of harm, create solidarity, and, well, bring things into the light that were hidden. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it leaves us with a pretty heavy question, doesn't it? In this age we live in, where everything's digital, lines get blurred so easily, and charm can be such an effective mask. How do we get better at seeing through it? How can we, just as individuals, cultivate stronger discernment to protect ourselves, and maybe protect others too, from these really sophisticated, emotionally damaging deceptions? How do we make sure that our desire for connection doesn't make us blind to those really glaring warning signs?